Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. One of 2 hostages freed by Hamas on Monday says, "I went through hell that I could not have known." Yocheved Lifshitz, speaking to the media with her daughter from a hospital in Tel Aviv, described how she was kidnapped by Hamas gunmen on motorbikes. The 85-year-old and her fellow captives were hit with sticks and taken into a spider's web of underground tunnels. Lifshitz and Nurit Cooper were released last night, but their husbands are still being held with more than 200 other hostages that remain in Gaza.
My mom is saying that she was taken on the back of a motorbike with her body, with her legs on one side and her head on another side, that she was taken through the plowed fields with a man in front on one side and a man behind her, and that while she was being taken, she was hit by sticks by Shabab people.
Meanwhile, the UN's agency looking after Palestinian refugees has warned of a potential end to its aid work in the Gaza Strip. Those in charge of humanitarian aid say if they don't receive fuel urgently, they'll be forced to halt operations in Gaza.
So far, fuel has not been allowed into the Strip. Fuel is extremely urgent because without fuel, the trucks themselves cannot move. Without fuel, the generators cannot produce electricity for hospitals, for bakeries, and for the water desalination plants.
Poland's mainstream opposition parties say they are ready to take power as they seek to increase pressure on the president to make a quick decision on appointing their candidate Donald Tusk as Prime Minister. The pro-European Union opposition parties won a majority in elections earlier this month, a huge shift for Poland after 8 years of feuding with Brussels over issues ranging from judicial independence to human rights. PIS came first in the general election but lost its majority. It is unlikely to be able to form a government for want of a coalition partner. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said his country will keep up military pressure on Russian-occupied Crimea. In a video address to a security conference in Prague, Zelensky said the illusion of Russia's domination of Crimea and the Black Sea had been shattered. Kyiv has ramped up strikes on Russian forces in the Black Sea and Crimea, which was seized and annexed by Moscow in 2014 as Ukrainian forces press on with a nearly 5-month-old counteroffensive. A superfog in Louisiana has led to a pileup of 158 cars just west of New Orleans that killed 7 people and injured at least 25. Dozens of cars burst into flames while other vehicles were wedged under each other in the 158-vehicle crash. Others were crumpled and charred on the bridge over Lake Mariapas. The accident closed Interstate 55 in St. John the Baptist Parish for hours. Local media labelled the conditions a superfog, which the National Weather Service describes as a mixture of smoke and moisture released from damp, smouldering organic material, during which visibility is lowered to less than 10 feet. Teams from around the world are racing their solar-powered electric cars across Australia in the 2023 Bridgestone World Solar Challenge. The event runs until next Sunday, with teams vying to complete the trek in the fastest time. The 3,000-kilometre route is one of the world's most prestigious solar car races, created to foster development of experimental solar-powered vehicles. And Mexico City's streets have come alive as hundreds of skeletons paraded on the capital's main boulevard as part of Day of the Dead festivities. Mexicans painted and got dressed up as the iconic Mexican skeleton La Catrina for pre-Day of the Dead celebrations. The parade is one of the city's many events for Day of the Dead, a pre-Hispanic tradition in which families remember their dead and celebrate the continuity of life. The November the 2nd Dia de Muertos, or Day of the Dead in English, interweaves Spanish influences with indigenous ancestor worship in Latin America. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.